Hello, my name is Tommy the Keyblade Master, and welcome to my channel. Why is it that I feel like I've been forgetting something from a few months ago?
I've ever played. Don't listen to him. Kiddies, Konami never made a bad game in the 80s. Well, when you consider Konami was also ultra to get around some of Nintendo's really crazy contracts, and then you could throw in the likes of Star Trek and Ninja Turtles, none of which are stellar, then yeah, they did make a few bad games. But this one actually has their name, and it makes the original Ninja Turtles game look like a masterpiece. Game like that doesn't exist, Sonny. Oh yeah? Play the intro.
The Adventures of Bayou Billy.
Not that. Well, not so fast there, buddy boy. Who the heck are you? It looks like someone's been playing with my tablet's photo filters again. Sheesh, no wonder why it's out of battery. Anyways, what do you want? I need the ghost of the old fart you just slew at that game. And I'm here to curse you. Let me guess. In order to break the curse, I have to travel around Romania, collect your body cards, burn you in an old castle, and then whip the crap out of Skeletor, right? Yeah. What do you think this is? Castlevania 2? No, it's much worse. In order to break the curse I put on you, you're going to have to review the game you stabbed me with. And if I refuse to do it, then the curse will turn you into the worst thing mankind has ever known. A fan of Honey Boo Boo.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. Kids, don't ever stake an old fart vampire at the end of a Castlevania retrospective series with an old NES game and not expect to be cursed to play said old NES games. Also explains why my cable box has only been able to pick up TLC lately. Well, better break the curse, better play one of the worst NES games I have in my collection. Time to play, unfortunately, The Adventures of Bayou Billy. So, for those of you who are at home wondering what my history of this game is, well, I got it when I got my NES when I was 7 years old for Christmas. Now, for those who are going, I must have been abused. No, I wasn't. I also got from my mother River City Ransom, which is a great game, Contra, which is a great game, and then The Guardian Legend, which is a lost gem on the NES. Throw in Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, which came with every Nintendo, and I had a really great Christmas. 4 out of 5 is a good record. Unfortunately, that fifth one is a big steaming pile, which is what we're going to be looking at. And to make matters worse is that this game shouldn't have been a steaming pile, which is why I always list it so high in my worst list. This game should have been great. In fact, it was great. The Japanese version I hear is great, but I'll get more into that later. So, if you're wondering what is the story of The Adventures of Bayou Billy, well, let's go back to the 1980s storybook cliche for video games and pull out number 1, which is you gotta go rescue the girlfriend. Yep. Beginning of the game, some mobster has announced that he's kidnapping Bayou Billy's woman, and now Billy's out to get her back. It's pretty simple. If there is one weird thing about this game, it happens in between stages where you get these little cutscenes of Gordon taunting Billy on. In the background, you see Billy's girlfriend, Annabelle, all tied up. But with what she's wearing, the way he's tied her up, and the fact that he's smoking a cigarette, makes me wonder if the cinema snob shouldn't be reviewing this game. And that creepy laugh at the end of them doesn't help anything either. The graphics in this game for the day were pretty good looking, and they have aged okay. The sprites are pretty big in the brawling stages. Even the animals like the crocodiles that pop up are very good looking. Also, in the driving stages, it has a nice 3D effect. Here you see the cars going smaller and bigger as you travel down the road, and you even see the lane posts going by. And for the time of the NES, this was pretty eye-popping. So the graphics in this game are pretty good. And when they say graphics aren't everything, they're talking about this big steaming pile. Konami games back in the 1980s had some pretty good soundtracks for NES standards. Same goes here for Bayou Billy. The music is very memorable and it's very good. Listen to it. That is some exceptionally good music. Whoever composed this definitely did a good job making a memorable soundtrack with the limitations of the NES hardware. Even the driving stages, which I find insanely hard to play, are at least memorable when it comes to the soundtrack. And Konami was nice enough to give us one more improvement over what the Japanese version have, and Konami really shouldn't have done this, and I mean they really shouldn't have. The American version now has audio voice samples! NES audio voice samples! Take a listen.
The Adventures of Bayou Billy.
And as bad and cheesy as that line of dialogue is, and as bad as Gordon's laugh is at the end of those in-between stage cutscenes, nothing can top Bayou Billy's death grunt. My favorite sound effect in the whole game because it just describes the whole experience of playing Bayou Billy in a nutshell. If I had to describe playing this game to a person in one word, ugh! Is the exact word I would use too. Let's move on to the gameplay so I can explain to you why I think this game sucks so much. So what is so bad about the gameplay that I keep bringing it up constantly? Why do I hate this game so much? Well, before we begin describing the gameplay, I should tell you Bayou Billy is not one type of game. It is actually 3 types of games. One of them is a brawler. One of them is an on-rail shooter, and the last one is this driving action game. Out of those 3, the first one is almost broken to the point of not being playable. The other one is merely okay but forgettable. And the third one is broken and flat out unplayable. And now you're starting to see my problems with this game. Alright, one more thing I have to get out of the way before I start dissecting each different types of gameplay in this and telling you why a lot of it's busted. And that is, you have to choose Game B if you really want to play this game, especially on a modern day TV. Game A makes you switch to the zapper to do these on-rail shooter parts. Now, I have nothing against using the zapper if you own an old CRT TV. Those actually were kind of fun to use the zapper on. Unfortunately, most of us now have HD screens, and all that's going to do is get you killed. They really should have put Game B as the zapper mode, because Game A is where you start on default, and even back then, hooking up the zapper was a bit of a pain. Anyways, it's time to get back to my complaining about the main type of game. Okay, the first type of gameplay you will encounter is the street fighting brawling sections. And why do these sections suck so much? Well, let's start off at first that Bayou Billy here moves like a freaking tank. He's not very fast, he's not very agile, and he's kind of hard to move. This wouldn't be impossible to play if they didn't make the enemies super quick and fast. They move like twice as fast as you and can really run fast and kick. And to make matters even worse is it takes 7 hits. 7 to put a standard bad guy on the ground. It just takes forever to get past a fight in this. For a retrospect, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did 2 hits. That one was a fun brawler made by Konami. This one is not. And if fighting human enemies isn't annoying enough, wait until the game makes you battle crocodiles. This is always so much freaking fun. You just have to find a corner and press the kick button and hope they pop up quick enough for you to keep kicking them so they will die and let you move on, while at the same time making sure you're not in range for them to snap at you. Oh joy, this is just so much fun. It ranks up to watching paint dry and the feeling of excitement that it gives me. To this game's credit, at least the shooting stages are somewhat fun and playable. You just take a crosshair around, press B to shoot enemies. You also have to shoot bazooka shots and dynamite being thrown at you. But for the most part, it's pretty fun and easy. The only time it gets to be a hard pain in the ass is when you have to fight this boss here. But overall, the stage is fairly playable and fun. Konami got this one right. But unfortunately, as well as they did on this stage, they screwed up the driving section even more. So why do I hate the driving stages so much in this game? Well, let me put it this way. The brawler stages, as bad as they are, have signs where they could be improved if the controls were better. However, the way these driving stages were put together, it was to make it so that you'd have to be a masochist in order to beat it. I don't know what Konami was thinking when they gave us these driving stages. First, look at the road. It's only a small patch of dirt on the screen. Look at the rest of the screen. There's like 2/3 of it that aren't even used. Second, do you see a lack of a life bar on top? Well, that's because one hit now kills you. Third problem I have with this, it's hard oftentimes to see obstacles like rocks or even smaller cars as you zoom down the road and you're trying to turn. And the controls are atrocious. So getting killed in these stages are easy, even compared to the brawling stages. If you manage to somehow survive the brawling stages intact, watch all your lives go away really quickly once you hit these out of balance driving stages. And by the way, this stage is the last stage I recorded for this video. But I have beaten this stage once or twice. You know what's beyond it? Another freaking driving stage that's even longer and harder than this one. What were you thinking, Konami? Oh, if only I could say this was just a failed attempt by Konami to do something big and new by having 3 different types of gameplays, and they just kind of mucked things up because they didn't have a budget or the experience to try to combine all 3s into a perfect game. If only I could say that. Unfortunately, there's the Famicom version called Mad City, and while I don't own a Famicom and have never played it, I do watch YouTube videos. And what have I seen on these YouTube videos? Well, I've seen a brawler with a character that moves faster than the American Billy, with enemies that are slightly slower and can be beaten in 3 hits instead of 7. I see driving stages with a life bar and a lot more road and with what looks like a better controlled car. The Famicom game is basically, by a lot of YouTuber standards, one of the best games available for that system. Meanwhile, our American version is a big steaming pile, and I have to ask why, Konami. Well, I do know the answer to that. Konami was actually trying to get us more bang for the buck, and they did it with a lot of their other games. Castlevania 3 had tweaks on our version that made it harder than the Japanese version. Why would they do that? Well, back then, games were short. They were only an hour or 2 long, basically. And the only way to get us our money's worth is to kick the crap out of us and send us back to stage 1 in the fetal position. Unfortunately, this game is just broken because Konami took it too far. If you want to add more hits for your bad guys in the brawler stage, good idea. If you want to make them more aggressive, good idea. Making them both breaks the game. You want to give me less space to drive in? Good idea. You want to give me 1 hit? Maybe good idea. But doing both and then throwing in the fact that our controls are lousy makes those driving systems now unplayable. Alright, Konami, here is what I would love to see you do. You have put other import games on the Virtual Console, and while I haven't picked them up yet, they are on my wish list. I would love to see Mad City put up on the Virtual Console, either with the zapper portions removed or redone like Duck Hunt was done a few months ago to include them. Either way, I would love to see Mad City up on the Virtual Console. But there is only one good use for our American version. I give Bayou Billy for the NES a out of 5. Bayou Billy here is a truly terrible game. We got crapped on when it comes to our American version. However, there is a game that tried to do what Bayou Billy did as well, which was combine 3 types of action gameplay, and this one did it right. It switched the brawlers out for platformer stages, and the racing stages were now over-the-top view like Spy Hunter, but the game worked well, and it also had a Ninja Gaiden type storyline. And I'll be reviewing this lost gem in a few weeks because I don't think there's a lot of people beyond some of us hardcore old schoolers who know about this game. So I'll be reviewing that in a few weeks. Stay tuned. In the meantime, I invite you to check out some of the videos of Mad City to understand what I'm talking about when it comes to the fact that we got screwed in this American version. Anyways, this is Tommy the Keyblade Master signing out.